Up here in Mount Charleston, it's easy to forget about the urban valley below us. The air is thinner, it's cooler, and there's more weather, from rain to snow. But the one thing that's identical is the rain that falls up here and the rain that falls in downtown Las Vegas all ends up in the same place, Lake Mead. Welcome to the Flood Channel. I'm your host, Beatriz Martinez. Today we're going to take a look at how rain from a thunderstorm up here in the mountain makes its way down 81 miles through the valley all the way to Lake Mead. The trip will take us thousands of feet downhill, and we're going to show you how the flood control system and gravity take that storm runoff all the way through Lake Mead. The Las Vegas Valley is surrounded by mountains like these. The Sheep Range to the east, and the Spring Mountains here, which reach a peak on Mount Charleston at 11,916 feet. Here, in Lee Canyon, the winter brings snowboarders, skiers, and those looking for a snowy retreat. But in summer, the monsoon winds can blow in storms, dumping inches of rain in a matter of minutes. This summer, Lee Canyon Road washed out during one summer storm. If you have driven or hiked up here, you know just how steep the terrain is. That means water rushes downhill fast. The Carpenter 1 fire burned for weeks in the summer of 2013. Firefighters had to climb from 5,000 to 11,000 feet to tackle flames. Roads were closed and homes evacuated. When the fire was finally put out, 28,000 acres had burned. That same summer, a huge storm sat over the mountains for hours, with upwards of 6 inches of rain right on the burn scar. When water came down to the valley below, it was black and smelled like smoke. The fire destroyed trees and shrubs and left the soil charred. It can take 7 years for soil to begin to recover enough to absorb water again. That means flash flooding on the mountain is an even greater risk. Here, on the Rainbow Canyon side of the mountain, residents have seen their share of flash flooding, and the effects of a wildfire here 4 years ago are still being felt. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers worked with the state and the county to address homeowners' concerns. The berm was constructed by Forest Service workers in 2014 after flash flooding cost more than $1.4 million in damage to roads and water lines. The $3 million earthen berm stretches for 2,300 feet and protects 15 homes below in the canyon. It is designed to withstand a 25-year storm. That's a storm that has a 4% chance of occurring in any given year. This berm was constructed to protect homes from flash flooding until the soil from the mountain can recover and absorb rainwater. As we make our way down the mountain, we'll see how the flood control system controls the stormwater. Behind me is the Kyle Canyon Detention Basin, and it's one of the first structures that the Regional Flood Control District built. It's also the first line of defense against flooding from the mountain. Back in 2013, right after the fire, this basin filled with so much water it would have filled a swimming pool the size of a football field, which rose higher than the Stratosphere Tower. Basins like these are designed to slow water down. The district has built 91 of these basins throughout the county. You can think of these as big bathtubs without a plug. When water leaves a basin, it typically travels underground in storm drains. 4 years ago, as the Kyle Canyon Detention Basin drained, not all the underground channels were in place. Water came back onto Grand Teton Road 1 mile downstream. The result was a mess for residents, as the road looked more like a river. Since that event, 2 district projects have been finished under Grand Teton, and now the runoff from Kyle Canyon stays underground all the way to an above-ground channel, the Las Vegas Wash Middle Channel. One carries water from Mount Charleston and the other carries rainwater that falls locally in the northwest part of Las Vegas. On the left here, you'll see the runoff from the mountain is darker as it contains remnants from the fire. The Regional Flood Control District has more than 612 miles of channels and underground storm drains. Another 205 miles of these flood control channels are planned as the district works on its master plan. The future facilities and those currently carrying water will all connect to natural washes. 2 of these washes, the Flamingo Wash and the Las Vegas Wash, come together at a golf course that doubles as a flood control facility. Here at the club at sunrise, it's a great day for golf. But when the skies darken, 2/3 of all rainfall in the Las Vegas Valley ends up right here. It doesn't even have to be raining here for there to be water. That's a key message we tell our students in our school outreach program. The district gives presentations to elementary school students throughout the county, from large schools in the middle of the city to small rural schools like Ute Perkins Elementary in Moapa.
Our presentation is about safety, so whoever said that was right. So whenever you guys hear anything about safety, make sure your eyes are open really wide and pointing at the presenters, and your ears are open. There's no one else's voices in them, because what you learn today is going to help save your life or the life of someone else. So today's presentation is about flash floods. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of a flash flood or seen a flash flood. Flash flooding happens when there's really, really hard rain. How many of you guys have ever heard it rain while you were in your classroom, in the ceiling, yeah? So if it goes really, really hard, that means there might be a flash flood.
Flooding has hit the Moapa Valley in a big way in recent years. In 2014, a storm wiped out a portion of Interstate 15 and blocked access to and from some rural schools.
The flooding was just crazy. It washed out the freeway. The kids here were trapped. They couldn't get home. And a lot of teachers couldn't get home to the other valley. And there were quite a few houses that their basements were washed out. And there were some cars trapped. It was pretty crazy out here. We have quite a few streets down in Overton. A lot of times when there's a big rain, you can't get out to like Lake Mead, to Valley of Fire, because there's a huge dip and it floods and you can't get through.
Should you guys ever go in those washes when it's raining? Absolutely not. Never, ever, ever go into washes or channels or detention basins. You'll see one in the video. Detention basins are like a big bathtub. We use these big bathtubs to catch the water, because sometimes, remember how it rains up in the mountain? That water is sliding down fast. So we have to catch it, and we put it in that detention basin, and we hold it and slow it down. In fact, in the next couple of years, you guys might see it, we're going to build a detention basin not too far from your school, so that when it rains on top of the mountains near your school, we catch all that water.
So several of the kids out here, they, after that big flood, they will bring, at the beginning of the year, like a big bag full of food and water and like a blanket in case they're trapped here again. So just being prepared. This valley is great at stepping up and helping each other, but we really try to be prepared.
Flash flooding happens when there's really, really hard rain. How many of you guys have ever heard it rain while you were in your classroom, in the ceiling, yeah? So if it goes really, really hard, that means there might be a flash flood.
It's extremely important because a lot of these kids, they play outside all the time, and when that water hits, there's no warning. You don't hear it coming, it just comes, and they really need to know safety, to know what to do if they see that flood coming, how to get out of it, and just all those safety precautions.
Over the past 2 years, the district has reached more than 20,000 students with messages to be remembered.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's dirty. It's dirty. It's dangerous. It's dirty. Don't drive. Oh no! Great job.
A current project to help alleviate flooding in this area is the Muddy River Logandale Levee. Workers are finishing up on construction of a 3,000-foot-long earthen levee. The levee has a concrete slope protection to prevent erosion from the Muddy River waters. Clark County is overseeing this project, which cost $6.7 million.
Oh, don't take Charleston. Don't take Charleston.
If you have a fortune teller, you know when flash floods are coming. If you don't, you need the Flood Spot app. Get it free today at BeFloodSafe.com.
And don't have the chili dog for lunch. Trust me with this.
Lake Mead is full of life, a seemingly endless aquatic parade, attracting and sustaining busy desert creatures. it's one of the most diverse ecosystems in Nevada, with species found nowhere else on Earth. But every time soap suds run down your driveway, oil drips in the streets, fertilizer washes off your lawn, or random trash gets swept in our storm sewers, their home gets a little uglier. They get a little sicker. If we don't take simple steps to change our ways, soon you'll wonder where all our friends have gone. It's time to clean up our act, Southern Nevada. To get your home or business lake-friendly certified, visit belakefriendly.com.
This is the Wetlands Park, a watery gem in the middle of the Mojave. But this isn't Mother Nature's water. All the city's stormwater and urban runoff end up right here.
So when it rains, it collects in the streets and in drop inlets or in sewer grates, and then that water flows downstream through our system and into the Las Vegas Wash. So it just means that we have to, essentially we're required to protect that water, the water quality of the storm water before it enters Las Vegas Wash and Lake Mead. And there are a number of different programs in Las Vegas Valley that we're required to implement in order to protect that water and make it as clean as possible before it enters Las Vegas Wash. Because it's not treated by a treatment system like your municipal sewer system, which goes through a very highly regulated treatment system. Stormwater just goes directly into Lake Mead, and so we have to do all kinds of measures to implement in order to allow for that water to be treated before it goes to the Las Vegas Wash. Anytime it rains, any surface that the rain hits will have can have some kind of pollutants on it, whether it's brake dust from cars or oil and grease that drips off of cars. Anytime you see oil spots in parking lots or at gas stations, anytime it rains, the water hits the ground, it picks up those pollutants and then ultimately carries those pollutants downstream. Another significant source is erosion, not just from the dry desert, but also from construction sites. And so we have a program where we're required to implement measures to try and prevent erosion from construction sites from reaching the Las Vegas Wash and Lake Mead, to try and keep those sediments on the construction site where the construction is occurring. The importance of keeping illegal dumping. So everything from people that dump oil, we get reports of people dumping motor oil or other solvents into the storm sewer system. We get reports of people dumping dumping garbage and trash into the storm sewer system, into the channels and flood controlled basins, or just even into the desert. That all eventually makes its way into our storm sewer system and into the Las Vegas Wash.
Because the Wetlands Park is first and foremost a floodway to get all of that water from the watershed out into the lake, it does bring a lot of trash. So any trash that falls anywhere within the valley, those floodwaters can bring that trash into the various washes, then in turn enter into the Las Vegas Wash. So after any rain event, we find all kinds of trash in the wash, which is within the Wetlands Park. So unfortunately, you can see mattresses, you can see surfboards, you can see stuffed animals. We found tons and tons of balls, basketballs, any kind of ball you find out here. So it really is a problem. So we try very hard to go out and clean after these flood events, but it's always happening out there, and it's something that people need to be cognizant. You know, when you throw that piece of trash out your window, it can make its way into the Las Vegas Wash. You know, what you do upstream affects us downstream. And so it's really important, you know, just to put your trash in the proper place, because otherwise you will see it at the end of the line.
Wetlands Park was created by stormwater and urban runoff. Its main purpose is flood control, but it's also an amazing place to walk, bike, or see something you might not expect to find in the desert.
So the Clark County Wetlands Park is located on the eastern part of the valley. It's about 2,900 acres in size, about 7.5 miles long, and it really is a wonderful place here out in the valley. We've got more than 2,900 acres of wetland and riparian habitat. You can see wildlife out here that you can see nowhere else in the valley. We've got raccoons, beaver, kit foxes, coyotes, and more than 300 species of birds that can be seen out here on any given day. What's really great about the Clark County Wetlands Park is it's built in the floodway, and so all of the water from the watershed flows through the Clark County Wetlands Park in the Las Vegas Wash, and that's what brings water to the Clark County Wetlands Park. That's why the Wetlands Park was built. And with that, as it makes its way through the Clark County Wetlands Park, it can create all this wonderful wetland and riparian habitat. It brings plants and animals here that you don't see elsewhere. And so we have built more than 14 miles of trails through the Wetlands Park. We've got more than 210 acres within the nature preserve of really nicely manicured trails that you can come out and hike on. They're all ADA compliant. And so it really is a great place to come out and visit.
This park is at a much lower elevation than the rest of the valley. This is where all the water comes down. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of trash with that. Everyone can do their part to keep stormwater clean.
Another is to keep trash and debris picked up in your yards and in your facilities. Another thing is to make sure that your vehicles are well maintained so that you get oil leaks or other fluid leaks of your vehicles fixed promptly. Those kinds of things. Always take your vehicle to get changed. If you do your oil changes yourself, never dump the oil in the storm sewer system. Always take it to a recycling facility or get your oil changed at a reputable oil change facility. A source of pollutant that a lot of people don't think of is pet waste. And so you always want to make sure that when you take your pet out, you have some doggy bags with you to take that, to be able to pick up the pet waste and take it back with you and throw it in the trash appropriately. Don't just leave it on the streets, because ultimately that again ends up in the storm sewer system. Lots of community facilities, parks, and trails have doggy bag stations along them so that, to make it easy for residents to be able to manage their pet waste, but we still see quite a bit of that.
The district's environmental mitigation manager coordinates efforts to protect water quality.
Our role is really to coordinate compliance with the permit among the municipalities and the county. So the permittees on the NPDES permit are the cities of Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas, and Clark County, and then the district is the other permittee. So there are 5 permittees, and we meet on a regular basis. We have a stormwater quality management committee that meets on a quarterly basis to talk about issues associated with complying with the permit. Everything from we discuss everything from public information to water quality monitoring that we do, to issues associated with the state regulatory apparatus. All those things are discussed in those meetings, and then we have staff level meetings where we coordinate regularly on different activities that we're required to implement.
The local stormwater program is audited by the state's Division of Environmental Protection and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency.
The state and the federal government audit the program, and every 5 years. So usually about every 5 years, when the permit is close to coming to a conclusion, they come in and they do an audit, and they'll spend a couple days, 2 or 3 days with the permittees, both looking at records and documentation that the permittees create and collect, as well as actually going on site with inspectors to oversee and monitor how inspectors are doing their inspections. The permittees just recently successfully completed their audit closeout of the most recent audit that was done in 2014. That was a collaborative process with both the state and the local jurisdictions, and we made a lot of improvements to our program. The next steps are to renew our current permit, which has already expired but been administratively extended. And then once we have that new permit in place, within 3 to 5 years of that new permit, there'll be another audit. So it's just a continual cycle of renewing the permit, being audited, responding to the audit, and then renewing the permit again, all geared towards this continuous improvement of the permit and the program to better address stormwater quality issues in the valley.
The best time to come out here is the spring and the fall when the weather is at its best. We have our Haunt the Wetlands coming up And the last Friday in October, we have tons of hikes planned and volunteer events, part of our Wetlands Hands-On event. The first Saturday of every month, we have a stewardship event. So check out our website and come to see some of our programs. And right now, all of our programs are free, and we encourage everybody to come out and explore your park.
I love what I do. It's nice to feel like you're making a contribution to the citizens of the valley and working with the community to address water quality issues, which is an important part of our life. All the water that drains from Lake Mead or drains from the Las Vegas Valley drains into Lake Mead, and that's also where we get our drinking water supply. So it's a really important part of maintaining the health of our ecosystem.
It's hard to imagine that rainfall in Mount Charleston comes all the way down here to Lake Mead. That's why it's important that we all do our part to keep litter away from our flood control system. To learn more about stormwater quality management, you can go to belakefriendly.com. And as always, to learn more about the Regional Flood Control District, you can go online or on Twitter and Facebook.